Okay, so today we're going to talk about secants, tangents, and angle measures when we have secants and tangents. So first, let's write down what a secant is. So a secant is a line that intersects a circle at exactly 2 points. So see how this line is intersecting the circle at 2 points?
Intersecting circle?
Yes. I skipped that part. A circle at exactly 2 points. I'm not sure why that came out that big. There we go. So how is a secant different than a tangent? Tangent only touches a circle at 1 point. A secant touches a circle at 2 points. Okay, so let's talk about the relationship of angles with secant lines. So I have two secant lines here that are intersecting. So we could say that the measure of angle 1 is equal to, here's angle 1's measure, is equal to the average of AC and DB. How do I find the average? So wouldn't I add them and take half of it? Wouldn't that give me the average? Which kind of makes sense if you think about it, because what's this angle on the other side? What's the measure of that angle? It's the same, it's vertical, right? These two are congruent. So couldn't I just add, and don't the intercepted arcs have something to do with the angle inside? So it kind of makes sense when you say, well, if this one's equal to this one, then if I add their two intercepted arcs and divide by 2, I'm going to get the angle. Kind of makes sense how they got that, right? How would I find angle 2? Good. I would add the measure of AD plus BC and divide it by 2. So far, so good? Okay, moving on. All right, so let's find measure of angle 4 if the measure of FG, they gave us FG is 88, and the measure of EH is 76. Let me give you a second to write that down. Okay, so I may not be able to figure out angle 4. That's kind of why it's angle 4. Kind of a hint. What do you really need to find? Angle 3. You don't? No. You just have to half 76 plus 88. What's half of 76 plus 88? 82. So if angle 3 is 82, how do I find angle 4? Subtract it from what? 180. You've got a 180-degree angle here, right? These two angles are supplementary. So 180 minus 82 is how much? Why did I say 198? Questions? Pretty straightforward, right? Okay, let's move on. Write this one down. Okay, so let's talk about what happens when you have a tangent intersecting a secant. Okay, so see how this is the intersection right here? This angle right here, let's call that the measure of angle ABC. Is equal to, can anybody guess? It's something we've already seen, it just doesn't look like it. How, no, but that was a good, not 180. Half of what? What do you think? How about just the arc? Remember when we had an inscribed angle? I'll just do that. Don't write this. I'll just do this over on the side really quick. Remember when you had an inscribed angle, something like this? The way we found that inscribed angle was it's half of this arc. Isn't that the same thing? It really is an inscribed angle. It just doesn't have another side. The other side is that tangent line, right? So that angle is half of that arc. Make sense? Okay. I'm going to go back. All right, so find RPS if the measure of PT, so PT is right here, it's 114, and TS is 136. It wants us to find this angle right here. So in order to find that angle, what do I need? What do I need? I need that arc, but I don't know that arc. But I do. Exactly. Good job. So if I want to find the measure of arc PS, I need to take 360 and subtract 114. Oops, I should be subtracting that first. Subtract 114 plus 136. This one? There is no answer. It's just that angle is equal to half of the arc. That's it. We don't have any values for that one. Or I could have given you the definition. If a secant and a tangent intersect at the point of tangency, then the measure of each angle formed is 1/2 the measure of its intersected arc. Or we could just say that. Okay, guys. So the measure of PS is what? What's 360 minus 114 plus 36? I have 110. 360 minus 250 is 110. So then what's the measure of angle RPS? Half of that, which is what? 55. That angle is 55 degrees. Not too hard, right? You guys ready? Okay, so I've got 3 pictures here, and the notes online, I'll have an explanation for each one of them. But the rule is the same for each one. Okay? So here's your rule. If I'm talking about a point on outside of the circle, so I'm going to say this angle right here, angle A, measure of angle A is equal to, it's an average of 2 things. What do you think the 2 things it's going to be an average of are going to be? Yes, DE and BC. These 2 arcs right here. So how these relate is this. If I take DE and subtract BC, DE minus BC, then what? What do you think? Take a guess. Half it. It's half of the difference between the two. So this angle is half of the difference between the two intercepted arcs. This will be the same thing. This angle is half of the difference between the two intercepted arcs. This angle is half of the difference between the two intercepted arcs. I don't think we need to write that for each one. So let's work with that. Write this one down. Okay, so we've got a point outside of the circle. We've got two secant lines. What relationship does this angle have with the two arcs? It's half. Half of what? They're different. So 62 degrees is going to be equal to half of the difference between what? 141 and... Why don't I take x and subtract 141? Why do I do it that way? Why do I take 141 and subtract x? Why not take x and subtract 141? Because x is smaller. You wouldn't subtract it, right? Okay, so now I could distribute that half and make my life horrible. Or what else could I do? Multiply both equations by 2. Or both sides of my equation by 2. When I do that, my life is much easier. 2 times 62 is how much? 124 equals 141 minus x. Isn't that a lot easier? So what's x? Anybody have an answer for me? 17. Good job. Give you a second to write this last one down. All right, guys. So this says a jeweler wants to craft a pendant with the shape shown. Use the figure to determine the measure of the arc at the bottom of the pendant. So it looks harder than it is. X is on the bottom. Good. I'm looking for X. I want to find this part of this arc. I don't know what this is, but I can't have two unknowns, right? What do I know about this circle? It's 360. So this piece of the arc must be 360 minus x. Let's solve for this. What does 40 degrees have to do with these two arcs? 40 equals half of x. Let's use brackets, it'll be easier to see. X minus 360 minus x. Everybody see it? Looks a little bit confusing, but it's really not, right? You can. But first I'm going to get rid of, what am I going to get rid of? The 2. Now multiply everything by 2. Whoa. What's going on? That wasn't good. Let's did it again. My pen's messing up on me, guys. And the lovely part is that I'm recording. I'm afraid to draw it again. Let me take the tip of my pen out and fix it. Okay. One more time. Oh, thank goodness. Multiply both sides by 2, and I get 80 equals 2x minus 360. When I add 360 to both sides, what do I get? 440? Am I wrong?
440.
Which is 220. X equals 220. And we're done.